And very quickly, we want to get to our Ed Henry. He is in Washington. He has the news that President-elect Barack Obama is calling for the Illinois governor to resign. And Ed, we had been looking for something a little more expansive than what we received from the president-elect yesterday, and now we have it.
That's right. In fact, just in the last few moments, we've now gotten it from the Obama transition team. These are essentially quotes from Robert Gibbs, spokesman for the transition, the incoming White House press secretary. He got some written questions from the Associated Press. That's what you were initially reporting. CNN has now confirmed those quotes. We have that from the transition on the record. When asked whether or not the president-elect believes the governor of Illinois should resign, Robert Gibbs is saying, quote, yes. The president-elect agrees with Lieutenant Governor Quinn and many others that under the current circumstances it is difficult for the governor to effectively do his job and serve the people of Illinois. Secondly, the other big question, of course, should there be a special election? A lot of questions. It would be a tainted appointee if the governor appoints a replacement. Robert Gibbs saying, quote, the president-elect believes that the General Assembly should consider the issue and put in place a process to select a new senator that will have the trust and confidence of the people of Illinois. So on those two questions now, we have from the president-elect spokesman, Robert Gibbs, on the record, number one, the president-elect believes that Blagojevich, the governor of Illinois, should resign. And secondly, the president-elect of the United States believes there should now be a special election in Illinois to fill his old seat in the United States Senate rather than having Blagojevich, who still, obviously right now, as you've been reporting, has the power to appoint Barack Obama's successor. The other interesting thing that's going on behind the scenes, there's been a lot of speculation the last couple of days. We've been picking up information that the president-elect was likely to unveil potentially other cabinet appointments, perhaps his energy team, for example, because you remember yesterday, as all this was blowing up, he was actually meeting with Al Gore, the former vice president. Climate change, of course, his big issue. And so we were expecting after that Gore meeting that later this week there'd be an announcement of the energy team, the energy secretary, and others. But we're now hearing maybe that might be off, might be pushed back because perhaps, you know, they don't want to be in the spotlight right now. I mean, a lot of people are wondering whether or not the president-elect would want to put himself out there again this week, as we saw him yesterday, and face more questions about this whole controversy. It's sort of the last thing that the president-elect wants to be drawn into right now, Tony.
And I think that's the real question here. It is, what's your view of it? Is it a distraction for the people that you've talked to, and you talked to Robert Gibbs? Is it a distraction right now to have this story exploding all over the country? Here we are 41 days from the inauguration.
Of course it's a distraction. I mean, obviously, if you talk to the Obama transition team, they say it's not. They're moving forward. And they're telling the truth on the fact that they are moving forward. I mean, they do have a transition to deal with. They're putting a government together. They have to get ready for that inaugural. And then the first 100 days, of course. And they're moving forward on economic issues. As I mentioned, energy. I've been talking to a lot of transition aides who say they're already starting to figure out what they're going to do on energy, what they're going to do on health care reform. They've got a robust agenda. But on the other hand, this is clearly a distraction. This is something that now the media is talking about, people in Illinois are talking about. The president-elect has now been put in the position of having to answer whether or not he believes the governor should resign. This is the last thing he wants to be talking about. So is it a distraction? Yes. But will it overshadow the transition? Will it overshadow the transfer to power? I think that's unlikely because, as you know, at this point, there is no evidence that the president-elect knew about any of this other stuff that's going on. We've got to be careful to report that. There's no evidence that either Barack Obama himself or his aides were aware of wrongdoing, were involved in wrongdoing, but nevertheless, it's still a distraction, Tony.